Alrighty, Gavin. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Plastic Arts Podcast, the show where we break down the video game news of the week. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev extraordinaire, and author of numerous erotic Ghostbusters fan fiction, Gavin Jones.
That would just write itself. I mean, there's already some erotic ghost fiction in the first Ghostbusters.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a scene where, what's his name? Dan Aykroyd's character.
Yeah.
Is asleep, and then he has a dream where he's like a captain, like laying in his captain's bed, and like a banshee like appears over him, and then she goes invisible, and then his fly goes down, and his eyes go across, and then he falls out of his bed in real life. Which I remember because when I was a kid, I always we taped it off of TV.
Gotcha.
So,
the commercials and stuff.
Yeah, so there was always these commercials that I remember so vividly. But yeah, so that scene was always cut. And so like years later when I got like a VHS or a DVD of it, I'm like, the fuck is this scene? I've watched this movie 100 times and this wasn't here. Also, why am I like 9 and just shouting fuck like a sailor?
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, I just watched the trailer and I realized like I don't remember anything about the original two for sure.
Right.
That first attempt at the reboot, I don't remember anything about that. But what are your thoughts on that trailer?
Well, it made me think of because there was that one writer who almost got the gig for Ghostbusters 3.
Right, yeah.
And then it got taken over for the all-female one. And so I was getting vibes from that, and I'm like, did they hire him? Because like this seems kind of similar to his idea, but also he had like a huge Me Too situation.
Yeah, he got Me Too'd the fuck out of there. They just erased his history or something.
Right. So I was about to be very surprised. Like I've liked his writing, but there's a limit.
Yeah, I've heard that he's been able to like continue to write stuff just without his name tied to it. So he's still like amongst.
So he's Louis C.K.ing it.
Apparently, yeah. I forget his fucking name, but he wrote some cool stuff. But he was a creepy guy apparently.
Yeah. But yeah, the plot looks like, I'm glad it looks like it's taking on the thing I thought about from his plot was he wanted to continue Egon Spengler's daughter storyline.
Gotcha.
And this was going to be like his plot was like, it's kind of like Ghostbusters 2 where no one gives a shit about the Ghostbusters again.
Yeah, because time has passed before
right.
any kind of like ghost stuff has been happening.
Right. And this is an interesting concept of the fact that ghosts just aren't a thing anymore.
I wonder why. I imagine they'll go into that in the movie, but I wonder why.
I mean, that makes sense, though, because in Ghostbusters, at the end of Ghostbusters 1, they essentially kind of like sealed off the ghost realm. Oh. In Ghostbusters 2, they kind of bring it back. Or it comes back and then they seal it again.
Okay.
So I guess this is just, the same thing again.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it has potential. I'm cautiously optimistic. I fucking love Paul Rudd. He really can't do wrong.
No, he can make any movie way more awesome. Is he not? Does it not involve the original? Because wasn't this one written or somewhat?
I think they're dead. I mean, it's somewhat confirmed that Harold Ramis's character Egon is dead.
That's what it seemed like in the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, but gotcha. Which also the weird the other concept is like Egon's fucked somebody, and in my brain that is just not.
That is a banshee of his own.
Right. That is not a thing that happened. like Janita, I think in the first movie, like flirting with them. It's like, do you have any hobbies? I collect spores, molds, and fungus. Like, whoo.
Yeah.
Oh,
he tricked somebody.
Turn it down. Someone turn on a sprinkler, because it is. Yeah, so I mean I hope it's good. It's definitely interesting how little like spookiness they were showing.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with the trailer like if that tone carries into the movie, but it did seem a little bit more like of a slightly realistic tone. Yeah. But then towards the end of that trailer, they're trying to like lean more into the Ghostbuster stuff. But yeah, no, I have no just. They could provide something completely terrible, and I wouldn't care nonetheless. So if they provide an awesome movie, then cool. If it sucks, then I just walk away. But I've never had any stake in the Ghostbusters world. But
I do hope it's funny though. It didn't really look funny.
No, I think Paul Rudd is going to provide, I imagine, all the funny for that show, for that movie. But once we watched the trailer, we watched the because I never watched the all female reboot, and it's funny because like I'll watch that trailer now and it looks like that should be Ghostbusters. I feel like for the trailer, beat for beat, they follow like the cheesiness, the funniness of a Ghostbusters movie.
Of the reboot.
Yeah, of like the female reboot.
I think it had a good trailer.
See, I never watched the movie, so I don't know. But like going off the trailer, watching the old trailer versus this one, it's like, oh, that should be Ghostbusters. It seems like they kept that tone going. But
it definitely had a chance. But it's like, you know, I probably told you before, but it's like it either needed to take more risks or less risks, and so it didn't. It didn't quite carve its own identity, but also is kind of holding back to the original. And it's like you were trying to write a line. You need to go one way or another.
Something, create a voice there, a vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it was kind of frustrating with like there were scenes where like it can be funny in a comedy where someone's not like too concerned with somebody's well-being, and it's just like, and they're just being chill about it. But they pulled that gag too many times, and the stakes were way too hard. Like somebody's riding a proton pack like a fucking laser tornado, and everyone just like walks off to go get fucking pizza. It's like, no, that's not funny. That's being a bad friend at this point. Like, I mean, anyway, it was a little too
right. Or just like realizing that they went with those. It was like a cast of basically comedians with at least comedic actors, and that's what that original tried to do. And this new reboot, you have Paul Rudd in there, but really there's no like comedic actors, so like. It's funny to look at that now.
Well, you could kind of include the kid from Stranger Things, because Stranger Things' like humor level is kind of comparable to Ghostbusters, so he can probably handle it.
That's true. Yeah, no, that kid's getting a lot of work. It's funny because he's hitting this like he's getting to the really awkward teenage stage. So
God, he looks fucking awkward.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you got 2 weeks to film this movie before his voice just gets really weird.
Well, his voice is pretty bad in the last season of Stranger Things. Like, it was like, I don't want to. I'm just hearing you talking about fucking my mom in Call of Duty. Like, that's what I hear when you speak. I think he's, So it's I don't know, but they also like they showed the mom so shortly I couldn't recognize who she was, if she was a famous actor or if that was a mom or what the fuck she was.
Yeah.
And then the other girl, I think if they're going
sister or just the
I think that's his
kid?
sister. Okay. And like if you're picking those two kids, if they are in fact the kids of Egon, like perfect, nailed it, especially the daughter.
Yeah, for sure. So. Gotcha. Yeah, so you're kind of like cautiously optimistic.
I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't trust the movie industry at this point. It's weird that Netflix is like the most reputable movie house at this point.
Right.
Speaking of, did you ever watch The Irishman? And if you did, in what ridiculous way did you watch it? I think
on a Game Boy Micro. I think I tried to watch it. I was watching all the different memes of people. Yeah, just trying to just a finger to Scorsese that will never see it. He doesn't, know what the internet is in general. But I want to watch it because I was very much
it's good.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
I heard all that stuff. But yeah, like I heard all that stuff, and I was like, okay. I also want to kind of like shit on it because of the stuff he said for Marvel. But then I watched that trailer. It's like, oh, this looks dope. I want to watch this. It looks like Goodfellas and that same kind of mentality.
He's a legend for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Apparently an elitist legend, but we've had elitist legends be good in the past. Yep. It's not.
And he has a genre or a craft that he kind of really nails.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I want to see. So yeah, I'm on board. I've heard it's like 3 hours, so I have to get.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, I have to put my marathon headband on and
some
sweats.
PJ. And, yeah, definitely some sweats,
snacks, which I already have on hand anyways. I think that's what I wear when I.
You got to have like a full loaded up charcuterie board, and it's gonna be gone by the time you're done.
That's true. You need to implement naps.
You're gonna feel your bones, but
that should be on their tagline. You'll feel them bones by the time we're done with you.
Sorry for the inside joke, everyone.
Kevin, if they're not feeling their bones, I don't know what to say.
I don't. Slimer fan.
That was my initial idea. As author of numerous erotic Ghostbusters Slimer fan fiction. I feel like the fan fiction.
I can see that. He got that. He got that like Venom level tongue action going on.
Hey, he's already he's liquid, ready to go. There's a glimpse of Slimer in the reboot trailer.
That's cool.
I wonder how they're gonna handle him because I don't know what they did with the female cast one. If he was still the comedic, thing
No, he was a baddie.
Gotcha. Well, wasn't the original Ghostbusters? He was kind of a creepy, scary character, right?
In the original one, he is a baddie. In the second one, he
eventually became like the logo in the cartoon.
He kind of makes friends, but the actual original, like if I remember correctly, and I'm 90% sure I do, like the original 4 Ghostbusters don't become friends with him. It's sort of what's his name's character that does, and at the end,
Bill
it's
Murray or
not Bill
Igor?
Murray.
Are you gone?
No, none of the Ghostbusters. It's
the receptionist.
What's his name? Rick Moranis' character.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was like he's possessed at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like they're having weird interactions throughout the movie, and towards the end, like I think he drives him to the final location, and so he kind of becomes a good guy. And in the cartoon series, he's like a pet.
Yeah,
he's an annoying.
I remember
pet.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which that cartoon series, you go back and watch it, it's fucking good.
Really?
It's weird that so like the voice of Garfield plays Bill Murray, and then later on in life Bill Murray then plays Garfield.
Wow.
What a fucking swap though.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like the voice acting is funny, the animation is good, and there are episodes that are terrifying. There was an episode where I think I showed it to our buddy who's a big fan of Cthulhu stuff. There was an episode with like a Cthulhu cult, and apparently it wasn't really off. Gotcha. Like it was kind of correct.
Like all the nods were correct and all the
Yeah, they didn't
stuff.
raise the stakes too high. They didn't summon Cthulhu, but it was like a Cthulhu-y cult, and they had I don't know. It was kind of neat. So it was a good show.
That's really a great. Because almost with the movie, you're limited with the time frame that you can do, but with the show, you can have a baddie of the week. You can keep exploring that that idea and have different ghosts and stuff. So maybe that's a better platform for a Ghostbusters reboot. But
absolutely,
that's dope. Yeah, no, I'm on board. I want to see what they do, but yeah, if they fuck it up, it's just I just walk away.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what we did with the last one. It was like, well,
right. Could they? Is there you think a possibility of them showing up in some kind of Easter egg kind of role, like just kind of walking on screen kind of thing?
The
last cast,
reboot?
yeah.
It seems as though they've written out the last and they'd have to, because in the previous version of Ghostbusters, I don't believe the previous Ghostbusters existed. If I remember correctly, I
don't remember.
They kind of decanonized the previous. So it was like a reboot,
stuff, right?
They did, yeah.
Okay,
but it was a reboot.
Gotcha. Okay.
Not a sequel. And this is an actual sort of sequel. I like the fact that they didn't call it Ghostbusters 3 though, because the game is supposed to be canon. That's supposed to be 3.
Yeah. So that's Ghostbusters 3, yeah. So this would be technically 4 because it's Ghostbusters Afterlife, right?
Yeah. Which is a neat. That title means literally nothing.
But it still works in that because they're dealing with ghosts and the afterlife.
I did like one thing my buddy pointed out they hated about the original Ghostbusters. He's like, why are they busting these ghosts? Are they evil? Like they're kind of just
living their life,
fucking around. Yeah. Why are we busting them? And at least in the reboot, the ghosts are inherently bad.
Gotcha. Well, I remember the first one. The whole reason they build a business is because they're getting called with these like problematic ghosts that are haunting and causing a ruckus.
They weren't really doing much though. Like the librarian just wants the library to be quiet. Okay. Slimer's kind of a pest.
Yeah.
But he's been a pest for years. He just got amplified when Gozer started coming into reality.
I would like to see like a ghost civil rights lawyer. You could play that character. Like you're the only one championing against in this.
Can I also be a giant southern chicken?
Yeah. Say I do say, or I do declare.
The one guy from Futurama.
I'll sit on you. Oh yeah, the southern lawyer. Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. Again. Did you play any games?
I played a bunch of the new, not like a bunch, but I played a good amount of the new
Darksiders.
It's good. It's the only thing that it honestly kills it for me. It's glitchy as fuck.
Gotcha. You're playing on PC?
Yeah, I'm playing it as PC. It's got these problems on all the platforms.
Gotcha.
And there's like the controls will occasionally just not work consistently when you need them to work.
So you can sense like you're pressing something and it's not doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah, so to double jump and fly, you jump, and then midair you press A again and just hold the A button. So you'll jump again, and then your wings will come out and you'll glide.
Gotcha.
And sometimes my wings are like, nah, I'm good.
Just drop down.
or most of the time, my wings, the 3D models won't show up.
Oh, really? So you're still flying, but it hasn't registered?
I'm still
Interesting.
Flying. There's this frustrating, like, once I shoot, you can't double jump after you've, like, immediately shot when you're locked in a direction. So it's like, I haven't found an easy way to unlock from a direction.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have to fuck around to try and get it. So, yeah, it's janky, but when it works, it's fun.
Gotcha.
So it'd be great if they, like, I don't know, fixed it.
Yeah, maybe there's some kind of update down the line. I wonder.
I don't even think it'd be that hard to fix.
Yeah.
Like, maybe play test it once.
So I wonder what happens is this a build that they were locked right? There's a time frame where they have to, like, release this build, right? So how long do they have between this build and the last time they've been able to start working on that update, I wonder?
Oh, I guarantee this has been fucked up for a long time.
Gotcha.
And just never got...
So does that mean it's
this
like
should have been fixed.
Gotcha.
These are I doubt they're hard to fix.
So it's like ingrained.
Buttons working is a things that games have nailed
for
a long time. So yeah, but it's pretty fun. I like it.
Gotcha.
It's weird playing a ranged character, and you can still get in and get dirty, but you know.
Does it carry on the Darksiders storyline? How does that work? Because I've never played any of the Darksiders games.
I've never finished one, so I don't know what the stories do. I know consistently, like, 2 retconned 1 story, 3 retconned 2 story. So I don't know what the fuck this does to the story.
I know the art style always reminded me of, like, a kid in class creating his own, like, metal.
It's like a Todd
characters.
McFarlane, like a Spawn.
That always turned me off for some reason. It just looked like a kid creating, like, these logos for, like, a metal band. And it's like, I don't want to play any of this. But I know it's super popular, so that's what makes me think, okay, there's something here. But yeah. Because that series has been going strong for a while.
And the fans are thirsty for it. And this is a good little...
there was a Darksiders 3, I want to say, right?
Yeah, it was sort of... Yeah, the first one was, like, mainly a Devil May Cry. Second one was more of a Zelda. And third one was a bit like those two, but with a bit of a Dark Souls vibe. And this one's just its own kind of thing.
You mentioned like a Diablo vibes you get from it, right? Or
it's like visually action? It's a Diablo, but gameplay wise, it's like what's that X-Men game? That X-Men Legends almost.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But a little more like you actually have to use your brain.
Ultimate Alliance, maybe.
Yeah, like an Ultimate Alliance, but now you have to use your brain.
Gotcha. I see. That makes sense. So I can picture that.
What have you been playing?
Really nothing. I booted up Control again recently, just because I was in the mood. But after playing Jedi, there's a lot of overlap with like the way they play, and I found that interesting while I was playing them. But I fell back into these grooves where I just love the gameplay loop of Control, and I was just having a blast playing it. And even though I beat the game and I stopped playing it, but there's way more stuff you can keep doing after it. And so I was kind of digging into the other levels you can unlock and other components you can unlock, and I was just kind of doing that for a while. But they kind of hide, maybe not hide, but they still incentivize you to keep exploring in the old house. I want to say it's like the name of that weird creepy building that just doesn't end. It's this super weird like supernatural building. There is DLC down the line. I don't know what the roadmap was for that, but they've announced like they're going to continue on with legit DLC that exists in that world. So
that's pretty cool. I may have actually. So I don't remember last week. Had I finished Edith Finch last week, or was I just started?
Just started. You know what? I started that too. Tell me about it.
So I think I was like 2, maybe 3 stories away from finishing it, and loved it.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, I finished it. It was great. It sucks because it's like I want a sequel, but that doesn't fucking make sense. So
gotcha.
It was a great fantasy, just weird game.
So maybe you're excited for what that team would do again. Like you're on board for what
I kind of just want more weird stories.
Gotcha.
Like it was very tragic and beautifully told. I don't think they're gonna do that again, but I really appreciated it for what it was. Gotcha. So you've started it.
Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect. I know you really dug it. I know there's some kind of walking simulator aspect to it. I started it up. The pacing is maybe slower, like you mentioned in the beginning.
That walking is brutal at the start.
Yes, but once you start exploring and you start to figure out like just how weird this house is, and then the first character you get to play as is a cat. I want to say, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, sort of.
Is it? I feel like it's a cat.
It's a person that.
Oh no, you're right.
Yes,
you start kind of changing different. It's been a year now, so you change into different animals, and it just starts to unfold in like since I didn't know what to expect. Right. It just kind of blew my expectations out of the water. Where I was like, I liked how they were going with it, and letting you take control of these different animals. But it seems like every character, their gameplay is specific to that character somewhat.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Gotcha.
They're all very different, very weird and different, and it's so pretty.
I think I got to the next character, and I'm blanking on what that whole thing was. Oh, it was like the story-based comic book with the potential killer in the room that was like a monster.
That was one of my favorite stories.
That was really dope. I like that.
It was so good. The only thing I feel bad is there's someone pops out at you and you have to hit him with a shovel.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't realize immediately. Like I recognized that it was spoilers. I recognized that it was my boyfriend or whatever he was, a friend.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay.
Right. So, but it wants you to
Like, oh, I gotta hit him. Okay. God, that was such a tragic end. Like they're all tragic endings.
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
But I really like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How many other characters are there? I think that was the last one that I completed. There's a map they show you of like these different characters in the family you have to find.
Yeah, you got a little ways to go. You can look at that. Anyone that doesn't have like a leaf next to them, because the leafs, like you kind of know what happened to them, but you don't get to play a story unless there are secret stories, which I would love for there to be.
Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, all the stories are great.
Yeah, I feel like if people go back and kind of pick apart the gameplay or the storytelling that they do in that game, they really nailed this. You have a window of time where you want to intrigue the player, and then although you lose their interest if you wait too long. Right. And I feel like they really towed that line very well, where I kept thinking of that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like, oh, you have my attention now. I think it's from the Django Unchained, where it's like getting weirder. It's like, oh, okay, I'm actually intrigued.
had my interest.
Yeah.
But now you have my attention.
Yeah. I kept thinking about that because once I'm like exploring the house, it's like, okay, it's a creepy house. And then it starts getting weirder with the way these doors are locked. I'm like, okay, some shit's going down here.
I think part of it too, though, that's so good is like this feels like a real house that was lived in. Mm-hmm. And like the way they decorate it is amazing. Yeah, I think the decoration is definitely one of the biggest things. That feels lived in. These people are weird enough to really exist, and not so weird that they couldn't exist.
Right.
God, it's so good.
Yeah, it was cool.
So.
The art style was really cool. It reminded me of there's a real house in there's a real life house that's
Winchester.
The Winchester house. Yeah. With the concept with that was they were trying to trick ghosts. Apparently, the lady was nuts who lived there.
Yeah. So the Winchester guy had died, and she regularly went to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller told her that if she ever stopped building the house, that I think the ghost would murder her or something.
Gotcha.
So she never stopped building the house.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was weird little passageways and secret doors and stuff. I kept thinking of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I need to finish it. I'm excited to finish it.
It's so I will say one thing that bugged the shit out of me, and this is gonna be so dumb, but like you look at the top of their house and there's these weird add-ons on the top of the house, and up in one of them is a 30 cubic fridge, which is a big ass double wide fridge, and I'm just thinking, no one fucking brought that up there. No.
I see you're pulled out.
How fucking dare you?
Logistics of getting that fridge up there.
You get a mini fridge and that is it. You're gonna connect water to that thing? Fuck you. No.
Yeah, that's
that was my
dumb
takeaway. I was so mad at that stupid fridge.
Or somebody had to lug that thing up there. I guess they could have got a crane, right, and just kind of like.
Well, they would have to because there's a boat on top of the house,
and
there?
No one.
Yeah. Well, that may have been a small spoiler.
Whoops.
It doesn't. I don't think it relates to the story at all. But yeah, one of the rooms is a boat on top of the house.
Well, just playing the early part like that doesn't surprise me at all because everything's in play. Like, because they're kind of mixing this imagination or I'm not sure what's actually real, what's happening, what you're interpreting, and so yeah, anything can happen.
It'd be interesting to know like what are the real stories.
Yeah,
and not these interpretations. Because that first little girl, I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, that's true because it's very fantastical. So I'm not sure what is actually, and it's also from the narrative of a kid. They're implementing their own fantasy. Yeah. So that seems right on the money there.
And some you will know what happened, some you won't. Like that the comic book one, you know what happened. Like that's tragic, that's realistic. Fuck. Yeah, like that. Yeah, she got murdered. But
gotcha. Or there's the kid on the swing. Did that you just experience his last time? Like
I assume he just jumped off
gotcha.
And killed him and died on the rocks.
Gotcha.
But I don't know.
Gotcha. Did you have a negative view on walking simulators before? Did you play a lot before?
I've never played one.
Gotcha.
That was my first. So I probably
Are you more intrigued now?
I've definitely set the bar way too high.
Yeah.
I would at least play Gone Home.
I
would at least give it
dig
that.
Gone Home. Yep, because there's a lot of story there. There's less gameplay mechanics like this one has for sure, but the payoff is you exploring this house and all the little stuff you can interact with, and the music's really good on that too. And it's in the 90s too. It's still in the Northwest, interestingly enough. That team, I forget the name of that company or that dev, but they did another one that's set in space called Tacoma. And that one is also super heavy.
Tacoma.
Yeah, it's super heavy narrative driven. So, and I own it. I just haven't been in the mood to play it, but I want to play that as well.
I'd also play Stanley Parable, and I hear that.
Yeah.
I played I feel like there was a demo for it forever ago, showing the concept of what they wanted to make, and it was super funny. So
I imagine the writing's super strong on that. So that's what draws me to that, because it's funny. It's playing on you, just listening to the narrator and reacting off the narrator, and
it's like a bunch of secret endings depending on how much you can break the game.
That's cool.
So
I like them breaking that fourth wall and encouraging you to fuck around.
Yeah,
that's cool, Gavin. We had some gaming news that happened.
Did we?
Yeah,
we just bullshitted for 30 minutes there.
That's what we do. That's what we do. This next big one is the first big one is from 2K Games. So they announced the Bioshock game. They officially announced it today. This morning. Development. This one was cool. So it's been rumored for a while, and I remember just the slight rumors, but nothing ever confirmed. Anyway, so here's some of the details we can get into, Gavin. So 2K Games officially announces it's working on a new Bioshock. This is from Kotaku. Ethan Gatch writes, today 2K Games announced the formation of a new studio called Cloud Chamber to work on the next Bioshock game that's still a few years out from release. Cloud Chamber is being headed by Kelly Gilmore, previously of Firaxis Games, best known for the Civilization and XCOM strategy games. Gilmore told IGN in an email that series alums Hoagie de la Plante, I'm going to butcher these names.
I think that was right, but I have no idea.
We'll see. That's my father, Hoagie de la Plante.
Okay.
Creative director on Bioshock 1 and 2. Yep. Scott Sinclair, art director, Bioshock 1 and Infinite, and Jonathan Pelling, art team creative director on Infinite. So there's a lot of alumni from the Bioshock franchise involved in this next game. How do you feel about another Bioshock game?
I hope it's good. It was interesting. I went into the comment section on this one, Destructoid, and instantly everyone started raving about how good Bioshock 2 was, and I thought that was interesting.
That's one I'd need to go back and play, because I've played the beginnings of it, but
the story's not that good. The beginning is not that good, but then you get to this one area where you get this drill charge move, and then all of a sudden every little gameplay addition they do from that point is gold, and you just have more and more options. And you can really play, you can do a drill only run at that point.
Gotcha.
And have infinite ammo for your drill. It just suddenly becomes really fun. But the story wasn't that good.
I know when that was announced, it always, for some reason, it turned me off that it wasn't the original team working on it, but it was still in the Bioshock that original world. That always pushed me away from ever giving it a chance.
Sure.
I don't know what it was about it.
I mean, kind of what it was is I'm not sure anyone really wanted another story in Rapture at that point. We wanted somewhere else fantastical. And that's sort of the weird challenge with this one is where do we go? Some people are saying space. In my brain, I'm like, no, that's Prey though. Prey is that's the true. Bioshock that I think
space
there's room
Bioshock.
There though,
but yes, I understand what you're talking about. There is room to explore that. So that's you mentioned this potential where they could go. So this is from, I pulled up the tweet from Leon Hurley. So he works for Games Radar. Okay. And he put out this tweet today. So he says, in quote, look, I'm not saying you can read anything into the new Bioshock studio being called Cloud Chamber. I'm just saying that a 1911 invention that makes the previously unseen world of subatomic particles visible is an interesting choice for the series. Referencing the fact that apparently Cloud Chamber is the name of this device in 1911 that makes the subatomic world visible for scientists. So does that play into the storyline, or is that just the name of this dev? I feel like that the name of that dev is going to coincide with something similar to the actual game being made, just similar to the Gears of War dev when they changed their name. So they're they're the Coalition, which is has to do with the storyline in Gears of War.
What who is this person that tweeted this?
So yeah, this is Leon Hurley of Games Radar. Guides coordinator at Games Radar, formerly of Kotaku UK. So he just kind of he's bridging finding the correlation between these names and what that might mean for the story of Bioshock.
I mean, I don't know about subatomic, but something microscopic could be fun.
That could just open up the whole like dimensional thing, because that's what they did in Infinite. They just
hated that so badly.
Yeah.
When I got to the end of that plot, I was like, I feel like there were several plot holes. I just don't know where they were.
Gotcha.
Like,
it's almost like an easy way out when you say anything's possible. See you later. Like, that's not what they did, but it's almost like that's how I felt they were tackling that.
I mean, I definitely liked like the final sacrifice that had to be made. I think that was appropriate. I just wish I understood it.
Gotcha.
And I didn't.
I think that, so you mentioned that at least at the time, no one wanted to, for the most part, go back to that Rapture world, but I wouldn't mind them going back there. I liked the way they built that like early 1900s or 1920s, weird dystopian futuristic city. I liked that idea. So I feel like they could explore that, but that's also, they did that in the DLC for Bioshock Infinite, where they went back to Rapture. So that might be time to explore something different.
Yeah, I just don't know where it's going to be on a farm. That's what it's going to be. Farm punk.
I think you have to follow a city format like they did in the previous ones. I don't know what that kind of city would be, but I feel like that would make it more familiar since it's a Bioshock game. I don't know what that would look like, but
we've done wind with the sky. We've done water.
Been the sky, been the water.
So we got a volcano, and then we've got subterranean. A lot of people are saying subterranean. Volcano wouldn't be too bad.
That'd be cool.
I feel like it doesn't make sense. Like, who's saying, let's go live in a volcano away from the
It didn't work for
democracy.
Any of these guys, but it worked for me.
Right.
And also, the previous games were heavy on the story, where they tied to somewhat real world conflicts with, like, in Infinite, there was this like heavy racism, weird like elitist stuff going on. With the first one, there were similar ideas with like class based stuff and Ayn Rand themes going on. So they'd have to play on similar story things, just like pushing the boundaries and having some kind of thing to say in the first place.
One thing I still love from Infinite was they brought out this science concept for why the city could levitate. And there's this, like, I forget what it's called. It's like this locking thing, because really you can't just throw a fucking city on top of a bunch of balloons and have it float. So they put it in as this something locking, which you can do if you hyper cool something down to a certain temperature.
Interesting.
And then like you can find videos online where it'll lock with this metal track, and you can flick it and it'll just whiz around the track super duper quick.
But the entire town, that was a tech for like...
that was the concept. So there are balloons and maybe that controlled stuff, but the locking kept it locked with the earth so it wouldn't fall down.
Interesting. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there was always a heavy emphasis on some kind of scientific, like, a basis in real life, like with the those twins that you find in Infinite. They're using this like this dimensional stuff that it plays into real life science from what we understand somewhat. So there's like plays on, or like is it causality? Like there's a lettuce twins, I want to say they're called, or like the lettuce brother and sisters.
The twins.
I want to say they're twins.
Do you know they're actually not twins?
Are they not?
They're the same person from two different realities.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yes.
So
gotcha.
Even I think it's the fact that one's a man and one's the woman that makes it confusing. But yeah, they're the same person from two different realities.
Gotcha. I see.
Which is neat.
Yeah, and so they play on actual scientific stuff, and then they explore that more. But I'm on board. Like, I've always been on board ever since the last one. I'm super stoked. I really love the first Bioshock. I remember like seeing the trailer for the first time.
I think the thing is, if you want to get a little fill, play some Prey. It'll I swear to God, fill that void.
Something about it. I really have to be convinced. I have to wake up and already be playing it and then keep playing it. That's what I think the best route.
Well, the trick is, don't be drunk when you start playing it, because I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but it took me like 4 hours to get not out of that first apartment, and boy, should that not take 4 hours.
I watched an intro to that, but yeah, maybe that's what helped me. But
it's really, I swear it'll fill that void.
Gotcha.
It's got the audio. I feel like a game where you're largely going around an empty environment and like reading audio logs and piecing it all together.
Yeah.
And just fighting this super oppressive enemy, like, it'll help. And then by the end of the game, you're Superman, and it's kind of goofy.
Awesome.
That's kind of why I don't want to play the Moon Crash DLC, because by the end of it, I was like, I'm sprinting 1,000 miles an hour. I'm jumping 20 feet high. It's like, you're going to take all that away?
I see.
No.
You don't want to lose your powers. Yeah.
Not at all.
Gotcha. So this does keep unfolding. So once 2K announced that they're working on this, they have a new studio that's working on this, bringing back Bioshock. So Jason Schreier of Kotaku, who breaks a bunch of different news stories, tweeted this article today from Kotaku. A new Bioshock has been in the work for years, is the article, and I'll go into detail on this. So this is from Jason Schreier. This morning, video game publisher 2K announced that it had formed a new studio to work on a brand new Bioshock game. What 2K didn't say is that this project has already been in works since at least 2015, although it's been rebooted since then.
Well, so is Metroid.
That's true. So I guess he goes into you're right. And so and that's the norm for a lot of properties, right? They work on a concept, they shelve it. That's kind of the thing.
It just makes me nervous because every Bioshock, except for 2 maybe, has been in development hell the entire time it's been in development.
You're exactly right. He ends that article mentioning that too. So he says the original Bioshock went through a big reboot and brutal crunch at the developer Irrational Games. The second Bioshock, which was made by a studio called 2K Marin, also put its developers through tough crunch before they moved on to the ill-fated XCOM. This led to 2K quietly shutting down its Marin studio, which
they made the Bureau?
I guess XCOM, which I didn't know was it critically panned or just didn't sell, or I don't remember, because I know the XCOM.
I think critically series. It was panned. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, it didn't help that they put out 2 XCOM games at the same time. One was what fans wanted, and the other was the Bureau, which was just okay.
Gotcha. So just by comparison, it didn't.
Yeah.
I see. So yeah, you're right. It's been, they're no stranger to these cancels and restarts with the Bioshock series, but apparently so this is a new studio working on it, but it was worked on by another developer for a while. That's what the article was talking about. So the truth is that Bioshock 4, codenamed Parkside, has existed for years, according to 4 people familiar with the project.
Parkside.
That's the codename. Long before today's announcement, 2K had contracted an outside studio to do it. In 2015, Parkside was entering development at Certain Affinity, the Austin, Texas-based studio best known for helping out on huge shooters like Halo and Call of Duty. This Parkside team stayed small as their new Bioshock entered early pre-production. This was a big opportunity for Certain Affinity, which was founded in 2016 by ex-Bungie developer Max Hoberman and had mostly subsided on contract work for external publishers. By the end of 2016, however, 2K had pulled the project out of Austin and decided to take it take it next to Bioshock in-house, rebooting it in the process. But I wonder if that's not the norm, but that's a common story behind the scenes where developers working on it and they, for whatever reason, they weren't happy with what they were producing, and they said, "Hey, well, we're gonna," and maybe they kind of pick apart different ideas from that, because I imagine that it's a contractor, so they don't own those different things they've added to the concept, and they take that concept and run with it.
Yeah, they're fully okay to do that.
Gotcha.
It surprises me that we heard about it. I'm surprised that wasn't buried.
Gotcha. Apparently Kotaku had reported on that, so that's all from them talking to different people in the industry, realizing that had happened and got shelved.
Yeah. I'm going to be really curious to see what it's like without Levine on it.
That's the thing. This is the first one without him, right?
Yeah. 2 didn't have him,
2,
but I always still think he's the reason why these games took so long to make, and he keep changing stuff on them. And I think that was probably very stressful on these devs.
Sure.
When the core vision for the game keeps fucking changing. Yeah. That's going to drive you nuts. That's not how you lead a development team. So I think it's going to be really interesting seeing this happen. That being said, as much as I will shit on Kevin Levine, if you watch interviews with him, he's a super cool dude.
Oh yeah, he seems like a visionary, super intelligent guy.
Yeah.
Although that's funny because he created after Infinite, they shut down that studio. He created his own side studio that he went full production into, but they haven't produced a game, I don't think, since Infinite.
Right. And then you see a lot of the devs from Bioshock made that We Happy Few game.
Right.
And
you know what? The Gone Home team, that dev was a lot of them were from the DLC. I think it was Marina's Den or from Bioshock 2. Like a lot of them are from that Bioshock 2 DLC, which is a heavy emphasis on story and exploration and stuff. So yeah, a lot of these people, branched out and created cool stuff after that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a case of just AAA talent. Like you throw them out there, they're going to make good shit.
Yeah.
They can't not. It's in their blood.
Right.
So.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see. Now, the next thing I wonder is, when do we hear or see a trailer, some kind of an actual announcement?
22.
22?
Yeah.
That's fair, because they actually haven't started on this until 2017, I want to say they said.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Oh, maybe 21 then. If they actually started in 2017. I think that's doable. Like, if you have a proper person leading this, you have proper funds. Yeah, they could do it in 3. That's not. I mean, these are big games. They have a lot of content, but
Yeah.
they're also linear,
When
which
do we see
simplifies things.
Right, that does simplify things. When do we see maybe an announcement trailer? Do you think it's funny that they would say, "Hey, we're working on this thing" before they have something to show?
Yes.
That does seem strange, especially since we're in the week of. We'll get into it, but we have Game Awards, we have PlayStation having their own event, we have Nintendo having their own event. It seems like a prime time to show something off. It seems weird that they would go before all that.
I think they knew a leak was coming.
I wonder.
Like they fired someone that was just like,
Yeah,
fuck you in your NDAs. It's like, well,
that's a lot of it. Is like companies just trying to, which that's a whole other subject. But like, why do these why does the video game industry in general have to keep things under wraps so much? You have stuff like Marvel; they give you the next 10 fucking years of movies planned out,
right.
And so why do they have to be so secretive?
I mean, it'd be nice to be surprised every now and then.
Like,
Like,
fun. It's fun to be able to have the mic drop moment where you walk on stage at whatever place, whatever award show, and you show Halo, 23, and then everyone.
What's that latest Kojima game? Like when that first showed off its trailer, like we knew something weird was coming, and then it came, and we were not prepared for how weird it was going to be, and we should have been. By all rights, we should have known. We should have been able to predict the exact weirdness to appear. Like, I bet there's going to be a baby inside someone's esophagus.
How does he top this now, too? Like, he's gotten so weird, on his own now. So how do you make this more, continue the weirdness? I wonder.
Pachinko machines. That's what he's like, you know what? Konami had it right. Turn my property into pachinko machines.
You win a baby when you play this pachinko machine.
Oh, God.
So, Gavin, we'll see when we finally hear something about the new Bioshock game that's confirmed. But today, Nintendo announced there's a direct they're going to have that's focused on indies. I don't know if you heard about this.
Could they announce this shit more than a day in advance?
They'd like to just give you, just enough time to put your pants on, and then it's playing. So this
put your pants on and get out the window before her parents come home.
That's their mentality. So this is from GameSpot. Jeremy Winslow writes, Nintendo Direct style Switch indies stream coming tomorrow. I read that sentence. I didn't understand anything about it.
I was like, did I have a stroke or did you?
Somebody did. Nintendo Direct style Switch indie stream coming tomorrow. So this is a Nintendo Direct that's focused on indies, and it's streaming tomorrow. What time? Good question. It's 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. And there isn't a lot of information besides that. So Nintendo confirmed on Twitter that a brand new Indie World Showcase will stream live at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on December 10th, which is tomorrow. While what's to be shown remains unknown, the company said that roughly 20 minutes of information will be provided on upcoming Nintendo Switch indies.
It's just Shovel Knight. Just the whole fucking thing. Well, they've got like Shovel Knight just put out the
one release
King
today.
of
There's
Cards.
a review.
Destructoid gave it a 10.
Whoa.
They're like, this is it. They said 10 and buy the collection that gives you everything.
Gotcha.
It's like, oh, dang.
Okay. Yeah, and they announced the Shovel Knight devs had their own stream where they just like showed off everything that.
They had their own Nintendo Direct of just Shovel Knight.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
I do wish they'd make something besides Shovel Knight. As cool as Shovel Knight is, like
maybe they're trying to build their war chest, and then they could just like start creating cool stuff after that.
Like, no, this is gonna be our Mario out the gate. He will be iconic. It's like, dude, you're already there.
Right? Yeah.
It was fine.
Is he a Smash character yet?
No. But he's an assist trophy.
Oh, what does that mean?
You like put up the trophy and then he pops out and he whoops ass. He claps them cheeks, and
that's what my Shovel Knight does, Kevin. Pun intended. But so I don't know what that means. We're gonna get 20 minutes of indies. I'm on board for that because the more indies, the better. For the Switch, that's really where they thrive, and that can always bridges the gap between their next big release for whatever that's coming out.
It's interesting when they do these indie Nintendo Directs is they'll bring out games that I forgot existed. And so like one of them was like Wargroove, and I'm like, oh shit, what has it been, like 6 years?
Okay.
Since I heard about that on like Kickstarter or something? Like, whoa. So
it's like a PC release or something, or
it's everything, I think, but like it was big on Switch and PC. But yeah, so I'm sure we'll see some stuff that we've all forgotten about.
Gotcha.
And yeah, maybe a few new things. It'd be cool if we did, like, I think the last time they did one of these, that's when like Cadence of Hyrule came.
I think you're right.
Was announced, and that was a big one.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that exists.
Yeah. I own it, and I haven't really explored.
You haven't
much
played it? I'd be curious to see.
I played the first like 20 minutes of it. I can't get the timing right, but I know that I needed to, work on that ability and get more out of it.
That's why I wish it could come to PC because I could do it on the keys.
Gotcha.
But when I tried on a controller playing that game, I couldn't do it.
I see.
So the key is to break out a dance pad, really.
Oh yeah, the Dance Dance Revolution pad.
The original had a dance pad mode, and it was basically, I think when you played in dance pad mode, it was way more forgiving about your timing.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say it made it easier because it's just so hard to play with a dance pad.
I'm sure. Was it designed for that ability, or did they just it's the same controls, but you can use it on a dance pad? Or I guess just like you
I
said,
mean, the whole thing was controlled with 4 buttons anyway.
Gotcha.
So you could do it with a dance pad. Fun fact: when he was originally prototyping it, it was to, I think, Thriller. So he was doing like just over and over again. Da, 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 da,
that's dope. I'm buying 2 copies right now. That's awesome. So that's a Nintendo Direct for tomorrow. This is a week of a lot of announcements. 2 of them out of the blue. One of them we knew Game Awards is coming.
Yeah.
So Nintendo has theirs.
Is Game Awards this week?
That's Thursday. Yes. Yep. Get your house in order, Gavin.
Well, I'm glad I had someone saying they wanted to get a drink after work, so I'm glad they said Wednesday.
Gotcha. So we have Nintendo Direct. Also Tuesday, PlayStation on last Friday announced they're going to have their own live event too.
When?
So that's for Tuesday, for tomorrow.
Fucking
yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It's very interesting that Sony decided to have their event the same week of the Game Awards. We'll get into that, but I don't know if there's too much to read into that, but they decided to avoid the Game Awards somewhat to have their own event.
Are we doing a Game Awards drinking game? And
I would love.
Will
to.
I need to?
You have me a drinking game.
Okay, I may need to get an Uber home. I think.
Right. Uber or parachute, whatever we got to do to get you.
We should look up. I think Polygon.
Do they have their own like drinking game?
I think they had some rules. I want to say what's his name that does the. Who's the guy with the fantastic hair and he does the. I don't know. Like he made every like Zelda work in the same canon or something like that. And,
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll look him up.
I want to say Brian Gilbert, something like that.
But from Polygon.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look that up.
Anywho, as I've gone on a rant.
Well, before we get to that PlayStation event, we have something that ties to that. Last week there was a Resident Evil 3 leak of the cover art confirming the remake that's happening soon.
I like that cover art.
Yeah, and this shows off the Nemesis guy. This is Jill Valentine, I want to say, and whoever this dude is.
It's pronounced Gil.
Is it?
No.
No. Okay. Is it a GIF and not GIF?
Exactly. That's kind of the joke I was making.
Okay.
And who? What's his name?
This is the guy from Tropic Thunder, I want to say. This is what's his face's
character?
character?
Looks like from here. Wow.
It's
Can't see that.
So we have cover art for a remake of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis has appeared on Sony's PlayStation Store. News of the Elite cover art comes via GameStat. I don't have any information on the characters. I know there's Jill Valentine and another guy.
Chris Redfield?
Possibly. I just don't know much about the Resident Evil 3 characters involved. I know they redesigned Jill apparently, so she's a bit more like combat ready.
Who's the blonde guy in 4 and 1 or 2?
Oh boy,
that's not Chris Redfield.
No,
right?
that is Leon.
Right, that's Leon. So that makes me think this is Chris, but largely because those are like some of the few male characters I know.
That's true. I know there's Wesker, but he's like the cool.
Yeah,
like,
Wesker. There's Hunk. I can't remember the giant buff dude. Maybe Wesker was the blonde guy, right?
Yeah, and he had various like Matrix abilities and stuff. Eventually,
yeah,
he could just like stop bullets and stuff. But yeah, did you ever play Resident Evil 3?
No.
I'm super interested for it. I never played really any of the originals until the remake did Resident Evil 2. But I'm 100% on board. I really want to see this in action and play it. I guess this is still in Raccoon City, so it's like it's a game that takes place at the same time as Resident Evil 2, so they can use a lot of the same like just assets for the game and kind of replicate it for this.
Can you look up real quick which one was Code Veronica?
Yeah, that was after this, I want to say.
Because I remember that had like this rip-off Matrix scene that was so sweet.
I think you're right, yeah.
She like does like a bajillion 1080 flips spinning around, gunning down.
Is it like the intro trailer too? So Code Veronica
I think it was
released on Dreamcast in the year 2000. Yeah, so I remember playing this on Dreamcast as well. But I don't know if it started there first, but looks like it's on GameCube.
That's what I watched somebody play it on, was Dreamcast. And it looked gorgeous.
Yeah, I remember as a kid going, holy shit. I got pretty far through it. And it takes place in a mansion. I do remember that part of it.
So this was his own thing. It wasn't numbered.
Apparently, no.
Okay. So I think it came out after 3, but before 4.
Yeah, I think for sure before 4, and I think after 3. But do you think that they do a remake for Code Veronica before they go to 4, or they just go to 4?
If I were them, I'd probably just go to 4. That's the thing, though. I feel like people remembered. This still looks great. Code Veronica pretty fondly.
Yeah, I think critic wise or review wise, it did pretty well. So
yeah, what the shit is even happening?
I feel like they get really nuts with it in this one.
So many explosions and fighting and
yeah.
This is Michael Bay has his signature all over this bad boy.
Yeah, which it could be cool with that new RE engine that they have on stuff. So yeah, but yeah. So that's Veronica though. But we have just them confirming that they're working on Resident Evil 3. This leaked on the PlayStation Store, so the actual cover art, and then they removed it, of course. So now the then breadcrumbs led to them releasing this announcement on the Game Awards. That's the next big event. They say, hey, that seems like
gonna happen. We don't even have to question it.
Well, here's the next question I bring up for you.
Do we take a shot if it doesn't show up?
Well, here's the thing. So it looks like it's not going to end up there. So the leaks come in advance of the Game Awards, which will stream live on December 12th. That's fine and dandy. But we have an interview with Keighley. So Jeff Keighley did a Reddit AMA, rather. So somebody asked him about if anything has leaked for the Game Awards. So this is coming from IGN. However, Keighley revealed that not only are there no plans, never were, to do anything with Resident Evil 3 at the show, but that a lot of the leaks and rumors online about next week's announcements are false. Nothing about our show has leaked as of this writing, Keighley wrote. So,
I 100% believe that.
That's true. So now then,
because if he's lying about that, he loses so much credibility, right. And he is despite the fact that I don't think he's a very good journalist, he is a trained journalist. That's like against their moral code to just lie.
Yeah, especially when you're like backed in the corner. I think you just reveal what you have.
Yeah.
So and that seems plausible now. The fact that we have that PlayStation event, it seems like okay, it's just going there. It leaked on the PlayStation Store, so it makes sense that okay, then because we're not gonna see it at Game Awards, we're gonna see it at the PlayStation event.
Oh, it's gonna be a spicy show right? If nothing's leaked. Ooh, Mr. Keighley.
Yeah. So he also says instead, Keighley says that there will be around 10 new games / projects being revealed if you want to count the things that no one has heard about yet. So that's pretty dope.
God, remember when he was just the butt of the industry?
Was he?
Yeah.
I guess I remember. Was he on?
It's like that like all the photos like circulating of him just like looking sad, surrounded by like Doritos and Mountain Dew, and just like just people making just dogging on him all the time. But now he's like,
now he's on top. It was a bit rough with
that respect back.
Those early Game Awards with like Spike. I think he was way more memeable then, where it was kind of a joke on the industry, but yeah, he's crawled out of that for sure.
I mean, is it just like he accepted his role as just like, yeah, this is the weirdo I am. Who wants to see some cool games? All right.
Yeah, I go, yep, I'll buy into that.
I don't care about you may kick puppies for fun, but this is fine.
Yeah, he does in his own time, Gavin, so it's fine.
Yeah, he's made his peace. He is who he is, and I think we've come to accept it.
Yes. He brought the 3 different companies together last year, so I respect him for that.
Yeah, he did. That was good.
On the topic of that Sony State of Play, so they announced it on Friday. It's going to happen tomorrow, December 10th. So this is from their PlayStation blog. Sid Schumann writes, the year is almost over, but we've got one more State of Play to share with you. It airs Tuesday, December 10th. We've got around 20 minutes of new game reveals, release date announcements, new gameplay footage, PlayStation Worldwide Studios updates, and more. And it probably bears repeating, don't expect any updates related to our next-gen plans in this episode. So this is a 20-minute sizzle reel of stuff. It's so they've kind of laid out the game plan, new game reveals. So that's where I think the window where the Resident Evil 3 remake can fit into. Also, we haven't heard anything on Ghosts of Tsushima, which was their next like first-party game.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was the Sucker Punch, who's done the infamous games. That's their is it Feudal Japan? That's like the early Japan kind of samurai gameplay. They showed it off 2018 in E3, and we haven't heard anything about it since. So
didn't that look good?
It looked super dope.
Was that the one with the? No, that was the one with like the adorable director. And
it does the ooh
yeah. She was super adorable, and the game's like super serious, and it's like, oh god.
No, this is the one I think we watched it at my old apartment where they had a dude playing like this traditional Japanese flute. and he was on stage doing.
Dude, you can't keep like triggering memories of stuff I intentionally blocked out. That was.
It was a bit weird, but
those
at
were
least the
dark
gameplay,
times.
the gameplay they showed was cool. Is what I was referencing. But we haven't seen anything since then. So this is the next, and this is still confirmed a PS4 game. So and if this has nothing to do with PS5. And if we're running out of time before like they start switching gears to PS5, you would announce it here. If they're not going to have anything at E3 next year,
I'll buy it, even though I don't have a PlayStation 4. I'll buy it just to support her.
Gotcha. Well, that's not the game she's working on, but that was like that one.
I thought you just said she was.
No, so she was on that city-based like horror game, whatever that.
Isn't that Ghost of Tsushima? No,
so this one is this is a Japanese feudal Japan samurai game. It was we watched a.
I thought that was something else. I thought.
I'll look it up, and this will jog your memory for sure.
I thought she had like Ghost of something.
I think you're right. It is. I like how I'm shittily trying to.
Like I know how to spell Tsushima.
I know it's.
I could spell sushimi, but that's not.
We got it. Just figure it out. Go Tsushima. Yeah. No, Shimita. Okay. Tsushima. God damn it. There we go. Okay, so we got let's get the trailer here.
It's spelled with a T, it looks like.
Oh, you're right. That's the tricky part. So I'll
you gotta roll your R's, Fonzie. That's the trick.
I can never get that down. So this is a CGI, but there's
I'm thinking of something completely different.
Okay, yeah.
I was thinking of something that looks similar to Sekiro, but was not Sekiro.
Gotcha. No, this one was. They showed off some of the gameplay, and they were showing off just the engine in general.
Oh, but, yeah. This is the one that I was thinking that was like Sekiro, but it was not Sekiro.
Gotcha.
This was so pretty.
You got the leaves and stuff, and I mean, it looks pretty fucking nuts.
I think we watched this on your 4K TV, and I about pooped my pants. Like those leaves look the way they move. Like, God, that's good looking.
It's almost like the path you create when you're fighting in this samurai kind of gameplay. It's like it replicates the snow physics we see a lot of games. Now you create a path to the snow physics, and then you create the kind of particles after that.
Yeah, very, very
but
similar.
Way more detailed though.
I think they got correct like just how fucking lazy leaves are when you like blow past them. They're mostly like
they just kind of shake, and that's about it. Yeah.
But yeah, that looks great.
Right. So this is the last first party game confirmed for PS4 besides Last of Us. So they kind of have to start, drumming up the advertising campaign behind it. So this would be the next ideal, event if we're not going to see it until E3. So
it's still going to be weird with like the next gen because I remember the jump from last gen to this gen wasn't that big, and it's going to be weird seeing. I get the feeling that the jump from this gen to next gen is going to be even smaller. And
I would agree with that.
So weird.
Yeah.
Like,
because we're used to once a console ends, the next thing is a huge bump in hardware, and you go from there. But we're now used to this time where you have PS4 Pro, Xbox One X. We have these like small integrations, and now you're still going to get that somewhat. It's still going to be a bump, but you're going to have a less of a bump, I think, now because of that.
Did you see how Microsoft is already planning to have the two split consoles?
Yeah, that's one of the stories. Yep. So there's
I hate it.
Some of the really what do you hate about that?
I just have one. Don't make your developers like have to worry about 3 different versions of same console.
That's true.
But I mean,
But here's the devil's advocate to that. So yeah, you have the developers stressed because they have to create 2 or 3 different versions of the game, right? But they also now have a larger customer pool because now you have customers able to buy the lower entry model. They wouldn't have the money to buy the higher entry model. So now they still are able to buy a game. You just have to reduce the graphics and the gameplay, whatever you have to do to get it on that entry model.
Oh, I'll just reduce. Like that's still really hard.
It's easy to just say that, but you're potentially going a route where you limit the people buying your game versus now you've opened up that pool for them to buy that game. Yeah. It does mean more money spent on developing that version of the game, but you get the you get the sales possibly from that.
Well, the other thing is like when you get a game and like you're playing it on your PlayStation 4 Pro and like you can't run it at 4K or you can't get 60 frames per second at 4K, like you're still like, why is it still poopy, right? Like that's sort of the issue.
I understand that. Although when you're developing for PC, you really have to. I feel like they have to do a lot of work anyways, dealing with different graphics cards and processors and stuff.
So it's going crash.
But it's similar with these console iterations where you have like your 1, 2, 3 models. you already have to develop for that anyway. So I feel like, and then the hardware now is really close to PC stuff with consoles. So it may not be that big of a gap because they're already developing for PC stuff anyways, like as far as like what they have to make sure works.
Yeah.
So it might not be that hard. It'd be super dope to talk to someone who like does that actively.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I think it's going to be tricky with the
It's still tricky for sure.
The standardization though of the solid state hard drives, because now
it's gonna be nuts.
You can make your PlayStation, your Xbox games pretty easily. Then you got to jump back to PC on your grandpa hard drive.
Yep. That's funny because so I beat Jedi Fallen Order, and one of their big selling points, and it's in the game, is that there's really no loading screens. But they, like they do before, they've hidden the loading screens in you doing stuff. So you're crawling through a crawl space and it's loading the next level, right? But now you have, with this next gen, with the standardization of the SSDs, you no longer need those like gaps in time to load the next level. But how do you deal with older tech that doesn't have that SSD?
So, I mean, you can still, don't get me wrong, like doing that where there is like a little hidden door, like a Metroid door, is still going to be the easiest way to do that.
Gotcha.
But if you are making some big, ridiculous Spider-Man game where you have to have this super impressive streaming system that's very hard to implement, it's going to be way easier. But I mean, it's going to make both systems. It's really a solid state hard drive makes so many different things easier, even beyond just streaming levels. So yeah, it's going to be hard making it for the new tech and the old tech.
If they have to branch that far. I don't know if they necessarily have to. I think the older games are going to be backwards compatible on the new stuff, but I think there's a stopping point where they just no longer have to support, like say like Spider-Man 2 is not going to release on this PlayStation 4, but it'll release on all the iterations of the next PlayStation 5.
Right. And that's going to force, I think, people who play games seriously on PC to integrate. They have it where you can put a hard drive, a solid state hard drive into a graphics card slot.
Whoa.
And I believe that's way faster than a regular hard drive. Jesus. And so by doing that, it's going to put it on similar competitive levels to a game console. So it's
They normally have like faster access to that kind of stuff than PC does.
I only know so much about this.
Hey, you know way more than I do. So
hardware is tough for me. Yeah.
Gotcha. So let's keeping on that hardware model. Let's talk about some of the leaks today were from the next two potential Xbox models. Yeah. So this is Xbox Project Scarlet
and the umbrella term.
What was that?
Project Scarlet is the umbrella term for the next.
The next two. You're right. Yeah. Yes. So this is from Jez Corden of Windows Central. They're the first ones with this leak here of potential specs from this next the umbrella consoles coming up. So Microsoft is gearing up to reveal two-pronged attack for next-gen consoles, complete with a more affordable SKU dubbed Lockhart and a more beastly premium SKU codenamed Anaconda. So as far as like the Anaconda specs, according to several sources familiar with Microsoft's plans, Anaconda is targeting around 12 teraflops. Sounds great, but I don't know what the fuck that means.
I'm not even sure people that know what that means.
No, I don't know what that. Yeah, I think belly flop.
They've been saying teraflops since the original Xbox.
Yeah. So 12 teraflops of computing power compared to the Xbox One X's 6 teraflops, which that's double. I guess that's a way to kind of quantify it. But,
okay, sure.
But, and then the Xbox One S is 1.4 teraflops. Get those teraflops out of my face. I'm not going to deal with 1.4. If I can do a 12, I don't want to see 1.4.
Right.
Is that just like the loading animation? Is that what that can handle?
Boy, do I just not know. It means so little to me, and I don't know if that's CPU, if that's GPU, what that is.
Gotcha.
It's the goddamn sound card.
So Lockhart conversely will support...
Oh, it is the GPU. It says it right there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Lockhart conversely will support around 4 teraflops, and according to marketing materials we've seen previously, it is being positioned as the most affordable entry point to next-gen consoles. So as far as the Anaconda, which is their beefy model, so it's 12 teraflops. It's an 8-core Zen 2 at 3.5 gigahertz processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 13 gigabytes dedicated to games, and of course the SSD, which is kind of standard between the Microsoft and Sony. But any of that make any sense to you as far as like the projected? How does that compare to like a PC when you just kind of look at it right off the bat?
I don't even know what CPU I have.
Gotcha.
Like I have no idea how many gigahertz I'm at. Not teraflops yet.
Do you want to keep adjusting your PC as you look forward? Or would you rather switch to a console as far as like the maintenance going forward?
You know, I think I would, but right now I'd have to change out my motherboard, and that's expensive. And then if I do change out to like a really nice motherboard, which I may need a bigger case for, Then I'd have to have a bigger power supply. Then I'd be able to get a bigger, better graphics card. And then I just don't know. Like there's so much math, and that's why I have to have our buddy do it, because I can't. I just can't.
Is it worth it at the end of the day, you think?
I think so.
Gotcha.
But I don't know.
Okay.
Also, upgrading your PC just upgrades your PC, which is nice.
Yeah, you have no option to move with consoles. You have to.
Right.
You can sell your console back for like the next iteration they put out, but
Oh, I just meant that like it just makes your PC better. Or
Gotcha.
like, oh, I upgraded all this stuff. Oh, I can browse the internet somehow 10 times faster.
Well, with the 12 teraflops, you better fucking be able to.
It's just handy. But
Gotcha.
the RAM seems now. I could swear 16 gigs of RAM.
It seems like a lot, because like a lot of
I
the
don't
games
think
now
it's
are
that
using
much.
8,
Can't
right?
you typically go up to like 32?
You can, but I feel like a lot of games now are still the base, model is like 8 gigabytes is all the demand. So I feel like 16 is a pretty big jump. But I don't know if RAM has been increasing to the point where you need 64. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that part surprises me.
Gotcha.
But my biggest concern with the Anaconda is it won't want none if you ain't got buns on.
Get the fuck out of here! How dare you?
Yeah.
Gotcha. We'll keep and then this is just a potential leak of specs. We'll see what actually happens.
The Anaconda's leaking.
But this, yes, it is. But this next E3 coming up is going to be the battlegrounds for when these consoles start releasing some of the information, because Scarlet and PS5 are projected for holiday 2020. So it is next year around this time. So this next E3 or whatever events they want to hold independently, they're going to reveal this information for sure.
Which is nuts, because like there's no if it's coming. It's fucking coming.
Yeah, Sony has confirmed 2020. I want to say for sure Microsoft has confirmed 2020. Yeah. They just haven't revealed any specs for it, but yeah, we'll see it. Although I think it's the best time right now as far as like if you're playing on console, because there's a wide overlap now. You're not restricted where you have to buy the next console. I know in Microsoft's case, they're committed to releasing a lot of these games, these newer games that are on the next project on Xbox One X. Like there's like a family of games now. So it's going to be like you talk about where it's a reduced version. If you want to play the potato version, you can on your current console, or if you want to upgrade, you can play the 4K for sure, best experience. But they're widening the gap where it's like there's more potential players possibly. So we'll see how that goes. Which is more of like a PC kind of mantra at the same time.
Get this fucking story off the screen.
Not interested in that? Kevin, did you watch Starship Troopers? Do you like the original movie?
You ever been confused for a man?
Well, let's at least watch this trailer then. This trailer might be cool.
Right.
So this is a Starship Troopers RTS that they announced recently. Put sound on this.
I can't see anything.
Okay, whoops.
Someone turn on the lights. What is this?
The brightness is up. I don't know what you want me to
No,
do.
I'm just... Well, the game is super dark. That's
Gotcha. I mean, it's a lot of stuff happening at once.
Man, it'd be
I've
really...
never been a fan of RTS games, though.
Neither have I.
There's like the Halo RTS, and I think even Gears of War did one.
I mean, actually, the Halo one wasn't too bad. I don't think Gears of War did do one.
Oh, okay. I feel like I remember hearing about that.
They did do a board game, which was kind of RTS-y.
What's even worse than all this?
Jesus, that giant beetle just popped out the middle of the base. What are you supposed to do against this enemy? Just die? Is
well,
that
in the movie,
plan?
you throw the grenade in the... You, like, shoot the shell.
In the mother brain or whatever?
Yes. I love this world. I love that original movie. So if you were to keep farming that idea, I like it. I just don't like that gameplay at all, but...
You know, it honestly, I didn't watch it until I was like 26, 27.
Oh,
it
really?
Aged fairly well.
Yeah, it's actually dope because it's like not a caricature. It's like a comedy. It's a criticism on war in general. It's a parody of that kind of stuff mixed with the sci-fi kind of action going on.
Have you ever watched the video comparing I think it was the book or the comic book to the movie, and how very different they are? It was super interesting. It's super duper interesting because they're very, very different. I always thought it was just still goofy with the movies, where that scene where like the commander walks in on like the two having sex, and he's like, you know what, we'll hold off on the battle for a little bit. You two finish up.
Yeah.
And then we'll go end this movie.
There's like a shower scene where they're all showering and they're all cool with it. Like they're kind of, trying to picture this, this different time.
This future. Yeah. Which, that's... I mean, I feel like Star Trek had a similar kind of concept of like
they're past
nudity.
any bullshit that we have now. Yeah, Gavin, in some lighter news or smaller news and stuff we can kind of blow past. Minecraft announced today there's a cross-play with PS4 finally. So they've had this with everything else, Switch, PC, Xbox. Now it's with PS4. That's pretty cool. And maybe that's more indicative of PlayStation finally allowing their properties to bridge across each other and that cross-play to happen.
It's just strange that I think Rocket League got this way before Minecraft.
They might have been the first big one, right? I feel like they were one of the first big ones. Because even
bet.
Call of Duty was like this year that happened with Modern Warfare. Minecraft had it amongst the other ones. You know what?
Fortnite.
Fortnite was a big one, but I didn't think Rocket League was before then.
Well, Fortnite did it kind of, they say accidentally, but they sneaked it in when they just like allowed crossplay.
Oh, right, for an accident.
And then
somebody switched the button.
And people are like, wait, I'm playing with Xbox people right now, and they're like, oh, shit.
Whoops, and my Xbox isn't frying. Or
we got caught.
Yeah, it's just bureaucratic bullshit. It's
They're
just
like, oh, it's not possible. It's like, oh, is it not?
Yeah, no, it's... Sure. And it makes sense from the, if you're looking from the top-down version where it's like they have their consoles, they want to make sure that people have a reason to buy their specific console, so that's why they want to kind of limit the pool of gamers. But really, when you open it up, you sell more, I would imagine.
Well, I mean, the kind of concept that both Microsoft and Sony operated on when they were kind of in the lead of the console wars, like if you're in the lead, the other person's asking for crossplay, and then you're saying no.
Yeah, you don't want to play nice with someone who's losing because you're the winner.
Right.
So why bend to help them out?
So we'll kind of see what happens with this next generation.
Yeah, there's on that same topic, there's something that just broke today. So it's MLB The Show. Are you familiar with that franchise?
Oh man, can I not care less?
Now
I know it's like a Major League Baseball thing.
Right. I hear you on that. So this has been since PlayStation 3 a PlayStation property. So they announced for 2021 it's going to be cross-platform. So Xbox is finally going to be able to play it.
I didn't know it was Sony only.
That's so apparently it's like Sony Santa Monica that develops this game and has been for a long time.
Okay.
So Sony SIE, I want to say.
It's coming in. Oh, Nintendo.
Yeah, it's coming to Nintendo, Xbox. So it's across the board, which it's never been for years. Like they've had a stranglehold on this property, on this franchise. So it seems weird. And this paired with the Minecraft thing means that Sony really is kind of branching out for whatever reason. They're ahead. They don't have to, but they are doing that.
I remember hearing that they were going to start branching out right when Microsoft announced they were going to stop branching out as much.
Gotcha.
I remember hearing that. MLB The Show coming us, and I was about to make the joke that I was coming to Wii because I want to say Just Dance came out. Then 2020 came out for Wii.
It's I think the swan song, that's the last Wii game that we'll see.
Will it be? Because I believe I heard it still outsells every other platform on the Wii.
Really?
If I may be wrong, but
keep the show going. I mean,
that's got to be so weird still working on Wii games in 20. I still felt weird when we looked at there. It said at Bioshock, Bioshock Infinite came out in 2013.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long ago.
It doesn't feel that long ago, but I also think like back to, I remember a YouTube video I made in 2013, and when I was on streaming, some of my Twitch viewers found it, and they're like, "You were like a little kid."
Get your propeller hat, and you're just
that's back when I was in Texas.
Oh yeah, dang.
Yeah, okay. I remember when that came out. I raced.
A minute.
Yeah, that's when I was mid development of Full Moon Rising, and we stopped the development.
That was your porn game that you were working on?
Yeah, that was my porn game.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Do you know the plot?
No, I remember Destroy the Porn. I remember that.
So this was, I think,
I just heard Full Moon. And
this is the immediate follow-up to Full Moon Rising. This is about a werewolf whose girlfriend wants to get it on with his werewolf side, and so he crosses town to use a moon rock because it's not the full moon.
Gotcha.
So
so this would start it like his Viagra in the sense of
that's exactly what it was. I think we even colored it like a Viagra. And then he takes it and it fills up the moon, and he has to murder people on the way back to build up his bloodlust.
What happened in this game? What's the story in this game?
Well, basically that. So yeah, she's like, I want to do it with the werewolf.
Yeah, but the release of this game, what happened there?
Oh, with Bioshock?
Well, no, I'm so bored with this Werewolf Viagra game. I want to play this. How do I play this?
Go to Newgrounds.
Okay.
Newgrounds.com. Drunk Devs is my handle on there, or Ink. It may be Ink. I think it's Ink.
Gotcha.
Back when I was gonna make that work.
Okay.
I think Ink with an exclamation mark behind it.
Okay.
Or you can just look up Full Moon Rising, and then you get to see that fantastic ending scene, which is basically the punchline of the whole 10-minute game, which is totally fine. It's
Gotcha.
gonna be you're gonna hate me for the first 7 minutes.
Okay.
Because the first half of the game it's pretty hard. But yeah.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, when I was working on that in 2013, and we paused so we could all race through the game as fast as we can. I think.
Oh, Infinite.
Yeah, me and the writer beat that game in 3 days.
Gotcha. Jesus.
And I was just like, work, go home, play. Work, go home, play. Work.
So that you can go back to developing.
Yeah, exactly. We knocked it out. He beat me. He got me on that one.
Yeah, the campaign wasn't crazy long. Or I remember dumbing down the difficulty for like the last bosses, because I just couldn't get through it on the normal.
God, that last boss was nuts.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. You jump
roller
on
coasters and shit. Yeah, I still thought the whole like roller coaster mechanic was pretty cool,
Yeah,
because
cool.
you were jumping on, jumping off.
Yep.
You know, you were pretty vulnerable up there. You'd have to get off and recover.
Yeah. That really changed the whole, because the idea with the original Bioshock was not that, where you're not moving fast, you're not having this movement, this sense of movement in open spaces. You're very confined. And so they said, yeah, that's cool. Let's create something completely different. Which, it was a good refresh for that. But
yeah, instead of you turning a room into a minefield and inviting everyone in,
right,
you were like, I'm gonna bust through the doors on my roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm a roller coaster hook,
launching rockets. Yeah,
nice, Kevin. Well, that's all I have for you this weekend.
I don't think I have anything you didn't cover. So,
Yep.
Well, yeah, go watch your Ghostbusters, kids. That's
their homework.
So you said you had watched the trailer?
Yeah, I just watched it before.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm on board.
It's gonna be good. I definitely like the seat that pops out. So anyway, we can talk about this off camera. We should end the show. Anyway, thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll let Fonzie carry us on out of here.
Bye bye.
Smooth.